It makes you proud to think you are making a difference just by treating people like you like to be treated yourself. I used to feel like a pirate doing this job just by associating myself with the stereotypes about being a roofer. She certainly would not be able to go up there, let alone do the work. It wasn't her house or anything. We laughed and said, "You're welcome," but I doubt I'll ever forget. 10 things I wish I knew about roofing. 1. Pay. I wish the conversation around the trades was different when I was getting into it. Had I known I would be able to support my family anywhere with these skills, it definitely would have made roofing a lot more appealing when I first started out. I was a kid and didn't know much better, and my pay at the time wasn't anything crazy. There's actually a lot of potential to make money in this industry, and it can be extremely competitive. I probably would have enjoyed my earlier years more if I knew this. Instead, I always scrambled to come up with a better career path. However, every year I would think on this, another year my pay would go up, making it increasingly difficult to come up with a better career path at the time. 2. It can be done safely. A big gripe I always had with this job was the fear of injury or fear of loss of life. I never wanted to get hurt for any job, and no matter how you slice it, it is a dangerous job. But there was almost always a way to do things safely, and it really does take a number of years before you begin to trust your gear enough to start enjoying yourself. No matter how high up you may be, whether it be placing a rope any and everywhere you need or a well-placed plank, exit strategies, or even zoom booms, there's always a way to drastically ensure you can do the job without getting hurt. 3. There are other job positions. Primarily what I'm thinking about when I say this is sales. I was brought into this prime to own my own company. My father, having run a company for 20 years, he didn't do much sales, or he did mostly himself, so I barely knew this position even existed. We had some commission stuff for handing out cards or whatever, but had you told me 20 years ago that a person could get into sales and possibly take a bigger cut than the business owner with a fraction of the responsibility, I may have considered that before the entrepreneurial spirit was nurtured beyond the point of return. It's a great alternative for those who have those types of skills and are still ambitious without having to go to the painstaking route of starting your own company. Number 4. Not all roofers are evil. One of the biggest changes in the roofing industry is probably the overall standard between installers, salesmen, and business owners. There isn't a whole lot of trust in this community. It is the most inquired trade in the Better Business Bureau with good reason. No one hears more horror stories than us fellow owners. It makes you proud to think you are making a difference just by treating people like you like to be treated yourself. I used to feel like a pirate doing this job just by associating myself with the stereotypes about being a roofer. As time went on, I realized not all roofers and companies are like this, and that a person can take pride in this craft and treat it more like an art form rather than a hard way to make a buck. This idea of reform and things not having to stay the way they are grew even more once I started a company. The highest priority being honesty. It took a while, but I have a new respect for the do-gooders of the industry and hope new people coming into this trade can start with that pride day one instead of finding it 20 years down the line. 5. Quality of life. One thing you'll hear roofers say often, surprisingly so, is that they would rather do this than anything else. It may seem shocking at first, but only those who have bounced between a warehouse or office and back to roofing can tell you the freedom and exercise you get on the roofs is second to none. You're somewhere different almost every day. You get to take in magnificent views all the time. You're out in the sunshine and doing hard physical tasks that you can see the result of even over the course of a few hours. Yes, sometimes the weather and longer days can have its effect. Nothing is perfect, but in terms of mental and physical well-being, roofing does have the potential to be a tool used for good rather than destruction. There are many factors with this, but I think anyone who spends most of their day outside exercising has a pretty good advantage over the more stagnant indoor careers. 6. Camaraderie. This might seem like a strange one, but again, you don't know it's there until you leave the roofs and try to make friends with someone without the blood, sweat, and tears. The hardships of the day-to-day really help create bonds, and some of those experiences are downright impossible to forget. Sure, not everyone can be your best friend at the job, but more often than not, especially with good management, a crew can really thrive together and look forward to going into work each and every day. Sometimes I think I like to get together with old friends just to do roof and catch up on coffee breaks. Get the music going, a nice sunny day, and a project you all overcome together. It's one of those things most people would probably pay for. For example, getting together with friends to go hiking or something similar. Mark it down as crazy, but true. Friends on the roof are friends for life. With this in mind, a person can really enjoy themselves more when they have good times and laughs to look forward to each morning. 7. Not everyone can do it. I remember working a tall, steep building. It was like any other day. We had a couple of layers to go through. We were hanging on ropes. The crew at the time was getting along pretty good, and even the weather was fair. A lady was walking walking down the street and hollered up to us, "Thank you." She continued to say that without people like us, these things would never get done, that she certainly would not be able to go up there, let alone do the work. It wasn't her house or anything. We laughed and said, "You're welcome, but I doubt I'll ever forget it." You can be doing it for the money and you can do it for the thrill, but at the end of the day, this is an essential service that even the most willing and capable sometimes aren't able to do. It's a hard job, but it's because of that roofers tend to have such egos and pride, because they should. Yes, sometimes these egos can get out of hand, but the pride is definitely warranted. The trades as a whole are currently underserved, so roofing being one of the least desirable activities makes the demand even more necessary. 8. People like watching people work. This one might not be as relevant since the media industry wasn't the same 20 years ago like it is today. But even going back a decade, you can see a growing trend in watching day-to-day operations. Even more today, to me, there's nothing more mesmerizing than just watching someone work on a roof, or anything really. They even have a genre for it called satisfying videos. The satisfaction in just watching someone do their job well. For the last half decade, I've been getting into this more, but I do wish I gathered more content during the earlier, more formidable years. Either way, it makes for great content, and if I were just starting today, I would advise myself to take lots of pictures and videos. Even live streaming is becoming more of a thing, which I find really neat. Roofing communities and forums. In the last 5 years or so, I've been in every Facebook group and watched tons of channels for growth and knowledge. Once I started doing this, I found what I learned grew exponentially. Facebook is a famous time waster app, but when you fill it with relevant information, it can be an extremely useful tool. Nowadays, anytime I scroll, I see how roofers across the world handle their applications, and I've learned a ton of useful tricks, which has saved me lots of time, knuckle durability, and even tends to make me look good to others. To them, it's a cool, never before seen trick, but to me, it's just a random roofing video I watched the night before. Consuming any content in something you want to learn is wildly effective. The more you are interested, the more you watch, the more you can learn, and this will save you tons of time and headaches along the way. 10. Knee pads. I went through the majority of my roofing career not wearing knee pads. I was kind of a tough guy that believed a person should never be sitting when they are doing something, at least if they wanted to be productive. Need to nail that starter in the first row, get into a deep squat. This was great for staying in shape, but made the days harder and in turn made them longer. It wasn't until I seen an older gentleman roof just as fast as anyone but on knee pads that I become a believer. It was a bit of a learning curve, but once you get the hang of it, it does wonders for your back and longevity when it comes to shingling. And there you have it, 10 things I wish I knew when I started roofing. When you've just begun the trade yourself, or a curious homeowner, or just like roofing videos, I hope these tips have served you well. Plus Ultra Roofing is a small roofing company in Moncton, New Brunswick. My name is Mackenzie Masdrell, and I am the owner-operator. I've been installing roofs for almost 20 years, and I've had a company since 2020. My family has owned roofing companies for 3 generations, so naturally it became my career and now my passion. Feel free to reach out for a free quote or follow me for more tips and tricks and other videos in the future. Cheers!